What's going on, coin traders? Bitcoin Cash has been on an absolute tear over the last week, so we are going to be talking about BCH in the show today. Now, to start off, do want to talk about one of the big catalysts for it, and that is that Bitcoin Cash has been listed along with Ethereum and Litecoin and Bitcoin Core as one of the cryptos on the EDX exchange listing that's just come out. But BCH as kind of that weaker name and has benefited a lot more from that announcement, especially in the light of a lot of the SEC regulatory scrutiny about different securities and such. So Bitcoin Cash does have one of the safeguards against it right now for the SEC. So it's not necessarily being looked at just kind of like the SEC has already stated that Bitcoin Core is not a security. So yeah, got a lot to talk about today in the show with Bitcoin Cash BCH. If you haven't done so yet, would appreciate hitting the thumbs up, like, as well as the subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications as well so you don't miss any future videos and content like this. But do want to start off, let's go ahead and flip over first into the weekly chart because I do want to talk about volume here first. Now, if we actually look at volume for BCH Bitcoin Cash, you can see that the week that just closed, especially in light of all this announcements, been one of the biggest that we've actually ever seen out of BCH. So if we talk about the numbers, 1.171 million, that's the term of volume for that 1 week candle. So just to put it in perspective, there's still only a max of 21 million, less than that in circulation right now. Previously, the all-time high for volume was 1.307 million at the start of 2021. So big spike. So even with all of these big price spikes on the huge run up back in the spring of 2021, still didn't even necessarily see that much volume. So we saw 1.14 and a 1.143. So the fact that we're actually coming in a little bit higher than that at 1.71 definitely shows a lot of big volumetric growth for a Bitcoin Cash. Whether or not that will sustain, not necessarily thinking it will right now, since this isn't that type of an advancement or announcement rather that will create such a perpetual buy opportunity for a lot of BCH bulls. Right now though, definitely still has the hype, especially being one of the big gainers in an otherwise bearish type market. And so right now, especially if we look at this weekly chart, a lot of levels to go ahead and look at. So let's turn off the volume here and talk about price levels specifically. So do want to focus on support levels first. So the biggest one that we have been seeing is the big support level just under the $100 level at about 95. Actually, let's go ahead and move this up a little bit. And then that's followed up by another huge overhead resistance at that time, which was right around 141. Now, if we look at the prices for this big resistance and rejection zone, not only along the 12-period exponential moving average, but also along this 141 to 142 price level that we have seen as big rejection week over week until just recently when we did get this nice bullish news announcement for a Bitcoin Cash. So the next big resistance point that we were looking at overhead was the $200 psychological level, which was a huge level of support coming off of the bullish 2017 and 2018 run. So after finding a bottom at the end of 2018, the bulls were able to defend a little bit more of this $200 psychological price level before seeing a run up to the spring 2021 highs. So currently the week that just closed did hold that level as closing support, but the current week right now is actually finding a very nice bullish break on top of that level. And so because we are so significantly higher above that level right now, we're looking at being over 15% on top of that $200 psychological resistance. Even despite having almost 5 days left, I'm still anticipating a nice bullish close. But it is reason to think that we could get stuck up in the next zone, which would run up until about 280. So I think likely right now it is possible that the current run is going to get stuck up and stalled somewhere in this zone from 200 to about 280, and we could see a very nice point of consolidation. I don't necessarily think that we're going to see a complete retracement down to about 160, which where the previous level of price support was coming off of the COVID crash. So now I do want to go ahead and talk about these exponential moving averages because we are starting to see a potential attempt at crossing bullish after such a long stretch of just having a long period of bearishly formed exponential moving averages. So at this point, especially with accumulating so much along a very long support bottom right at that $95 level and also confirming support and now blowing through with so much volume on top of these big resistance points, very likely to say that this bottom is going to be established as our local low for Bitcoin Cash, meaning a very strong case for the next section of a bullish movement, which is why we're talking about the formation of a bullish cross on these exponential moving averages so much. We go ahead and pull up technicals here. Do want to talk about the RSI Relative Strength Index, because the last time we have seen the RSI at the current level, which is about 77 right now, into that overbought region, we did see a top come in multiple times for Bitcoin Cash. So very likely to think we could get another type of repeat pattern, which would end up testing some of these lower support levels, potentially even down to 200 psychological, and even at that worst case down to about 175, down to about 160. Realistically, like I said, I don't see that happening in the near-term future, but as always have to be aware for what the downside and bear support targets could actually be. Now, flipping into the daily, going to talk about some upside targets specifically that were previous support on the way down right at the $275 level. And the reason this is significant too is that not only have we seen it as a big period of support, but also that the farther we get extended with the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, the farther up ahead we actually know that the Relative Strength Index is going to be a little bit better of an indication as price runs up and smashes against this big resistance point. So when we run up to a big resistance point combined with oversold indicators on not only the RSI, but also on stochastic RSI, and even this MACD, we actually could expect to roll over here. Barring the continued increase and momentum of a lot of this bullish volume, we actually are going to expect the upper side target to be about 275 at the high point. And so from current price points to that target level, that would end up being about 17% of a move to the upside, more or less. And so the reason we're talking about that again as being another potential target, whether or not it actually hits, is that if we flip into some of the shorter time frames, for example, let's look at the 1 hour first, you can see that we are looking at an uptrend still in formation, and we have not broken support of this 50-period EMA on this hourly chart. So the reason that's significant is that we're actually not going to change a trend and find a resistance point until the shorter trends change first. So right now, even looking up at a consolidation move, so if we do break bullish from this, we will see the next leg to the upside. Since we have seen this on multiple touches, every time we do get close to not only the 26, but also the 50-period EMA as well. So until this formation breaks, the odds of running up and testing that 275 resistance point do start to increase a lot more. But if we actually do start to see a change in trend on some of the shorter time frames first, that is going to solidify that the resistance points are going to be met, and likely we will experience a little bit of that retracement pullback and downside. For our chart, same thing, kicking off the 12-period EMA on all of these touches. In addition to that, I want to talk about the volume right now, just because we do have a complete decrease in overall bearish volume despite having a rising price chart and prices being so extended in the last week. So Bitcoin Cash has still been very much riding the hype and spotlight. And so even pulling up this little list, you can see that on this list anyway, most of the rest of the crypto space is in the red, but yeah, we are still seeing a little bit of upside and gain out of Bitcoin Cash. So still in the spotlight and hype. So we are still seeing a lot of bullish momentum and favoritism, but we know that this is not going to last forever. So that is where we are going to start to look for some of our targets. And if you are in a potential trade right now, or in a trade actually, it wouldn't be a bad time to start making a plan for where you're actually going to start taking profits here, because we know the higher and the more vertical this type of trade gets, the higher the risk of a steep retracement as well. So it is coming, it's just inevitable, and it's kind of just a matter of when. So that's why it is a good idea to start taking profits slowly as the price does start to rally. As always, though, not financial advice. And so with that, that actually is going to go ahead and wrap up our video and our analysis updates for Bitcoin Cash BCH on that ticker. Hope everyone enjoyed the show today. If you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, please, if you have not done so just yet. Do appreciate all the continued love and support. As always, it does mean so much. Stay safe, take care, everyone, and I'll catch you back in the next video.